Today is Friday, July 21st. We'll tell you about a so-called sanctuary city now telling migrants not to come, and why thousands of highly skilled workers in the U.S. are trying to get to Canada. Also, a historic heatwave is now starting to put a strain on America's healthcare system. Plus, a possible breakthrough in the murder of rapper Tupac Shakur. An NFL team sold for a record price just as its former owner faces a record fine. And it's being called the Barbenheimer Bonanza. We'll explain what's behind the bizarre movie mashup. Those stories and more news to know today coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. So there's actually a positive trend happening when it comes to violence in the U.S. A new report from the Nonpartisan Council on Criminal Justice found violent crime is down in 37 American cities. When you look at the first half of this year as compared to the first half of last year, homicides dropped by nearly 10%, gun assaults were down more than 5%, robberies were down nearly 4%, and so on. All that said, the violent crime rates are still up to 24% higher than they were in the first half of 2019, before the pandemic upended life for millions of people. The exact causes of any rise or decline in violent crime are apparently tough to pin down, but criminologists generally point to COVID-19 for disrupting society, as well as social unrest and distrust of law enforcement. There's now growing concern about grain markets all around the world. We told you earlier this week, Russia pulled out of a deal that used to ensure grain exports kept flowing out of Ukraine. Well, the end of the deal was already concerning since Ukraine is one of the world's biggest food exporters. But now Russia has actually started striking Ukrainian ports for several days in a row now. And thousands of tons of grain waiting to be loaded onto ships has been destroyed, as well as the infrastructure for future shipments. Now the U.S. says things could get even worse. The Biden administration warned the Russian government may be setting the stage for attacks on commercial ships. Russia put shipping companies on notice that they now cross through the Black Sea at their own peril. In response, Ukraine issued its own warning, saying ships headed to Russian ports or ports that Russian soldiers are occupying in Ukraine will now be considered risky as well. Wheat and corn prices have already started soaring, and the UN Security Council is meeting today over the humanitarian consequences of all these developments. New York City has long been thought of as a so-called sanctuary city for people who have recently migrated to the U.S. But now, people entering the country from the southern border are being told to go elsewhere. America's biggest city is starting to distribute flyers on the border, warning there's no guarantee they'll get help if they travel further north. And it warns that the cost of food, transportation, and other necessities in New York are expensive. Mayor Eric Adams says his city just can't handle any more migrants, as it's taken in 90,000 since April of last year, and hundreds more are apparently showing up every day. And city leaders say the cost of caring for migrants could reach more than $4 billion by next summer. Immigrant advocates are calling the new plan cruel and unlawful. But Mayor Adams blamed the federal and state governments for not giving the city enough aid to offer housing and other social services. Meanwhile, on the border, illegal crossings have actually gone way down to the lowest level in more than 2 years. But even the Biden administration says there's no guarantee that another surge won't happen without a rewrite of immigration laws in Congress. To be continued. High-skilled immigrant workers from the U.S. are now being welcomed into Canada. The Canadian government offered foreigners who are working in the U.S. on an HB1 visa to move to Canada instead. The goal was to offer Canadian work permits for a year, or at least until immigration authorities received 10,000 applications. Well, the program took in 10,000 applications within the first day of the program. So way more interest than anyone expected. There are still hundreds of thousands of foreign workers on HB1 visas in the U.S., which basically lets American companies employ foreign workers in certain fields like technology, engineering, and medicine. But if the workers are fired or laid off from the American company that sponsors them, they have to find a new job and be sponsored within 60 days or else get sent home. Well, the Canadian government says it saw an opportunity in the face of recent mass layoffs in the American tech industry. But this could have big long-term implications. With the popularity of this latest plan, the Canadian government is apparently thinking about ways to expand the program from the U.S. and get highly skilled workers from other parts of the world as well. We have much more news for you still coming up. But first, a break for our sponsor, Miracle Made. Did you know that your temperature at night can have one of the greatest impacts on your sleep quality? If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Inspired by NASA, Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. I'm really impressed that I'm getting comfortable, cooling, and silver-infused fabric that also helps prevent bacteria all in one. It's so unique, and I'm really excited to be using these sheets now. Go to trymiracle.com/newsworthy to try Miracle Made sheets today. And get this, whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order now, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo Newsworthy at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/newsworthy and then use the code newsworthy to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/newsworthy to treat yourself. Extreme heat that's lingered over the U.S. for more than a month now is going to keep impacting tens of millions of Americans over the weekend. Heat alerts are still in effect from California to Florida. And it's really starting to take a toll on people's health and the healthcare system as a whole. Emergency workers say they're dealing with an influx of heat-related illnesses. Doctors in places like Phoenix and Houston say they're now placing people in body bags packed with ice, trying to lower their temperatures quickly. But there's also people who show up severely dehydrated and need IVs. And many doctors say they're seeing a spike in contact burns, which tend to happen when people fall or pass out on the hot pavement or other hot surfaces. Unfortunately, the longer this heat wave lasts, the more healthcare workers expect to be overwhelmed. The National Weather Service is forecasting triple-digit temperatures to last at least through tomorrow in the desert Southwest and Texas, while the Gulf Coast and much of the Southeast will see temps in the upper 90s, with the humidity making it feel more like 110 to 120 in some spots. Then, at least in the Southwest, things could get even hotter next week. The federal agency NOAA says temps could get up to 70% higher than normal across Texas, Arizona, Florida, and parts of the Midwest. With all that said, the National Weather Service is once again reminding people to stay indoors where there's reliable AC as much as possible. You can check out cooling centers where you live, too. Well, this week, NFL owners unanimously approved a record-breaking sale of the Washington Commanders, all while ordering a new record punishment for the previous owner. They ordered Dan Snyder pay a $60 million fine because a new independent report found he sexually harassed a former team employee. It also found the Washington football team withheld at least $11 million in revenue that should have been shared with other teams. Snyder has said none of the allegations are true, but investigators say he and the rest of the Commanders did not fully cooperate, and what they did learn from Snyder and his team did not change their findings. So Snyder's going to have to pay the fine. But the $60 million he owes isn't really that much, considering he just got more than $6 billion for selling the team, the most expensive sale in NFL history. The Las Vegas police carried out a dramatic middle-of-the-night raid this week that turned out to be connected to the murder of legendary rapper Tupac Shakur. Video from the SWAT operation showed police with flashing lights shouting for people inside the house to come out with their hands up. It's not clear at this point if they were actually arrested, but news outlets have since confirmed police were there to execute a search warrant. The owner of the home is apparently a man who claimed to witness the shooting that killed Tupac back in 1996. Now evidence in the case is being presented to a Las Vegas grand jury, though it could still take months for that grand jury to decide if anyone should actually face charges. There was a rare breakthrough in one part of the entertainment industry this week. A deal was reached to avert a Broadway strike that could have shut down shows in New York and touring shows around the country as soon as today. Broadway producers were able to make a last-minute deal with the union that represents stagehands and other backstage workers. The agreement still needs to be voted on by union members before it can go into effect, officially ending the risk of a strike, but that is expected to happen soon. Meanwhile, 160,000 actors and 11,000 screenwriters are still striking against major film studios and streaming services. And most of the movie and TV shows in production around the country are still on hiatus. Barbenheimer weekend is finally here. In case you haven't seen anything online about it yet, Barbenheimer has actually become a bit of a phenomenon. For more than a year now, there have been memes circulating that pit two highly anticipated movies against each other. the Barbie comedy starring Margot Robbie as the iconic doll, and Oppenheimer, which is a 3-hour drama about the making of the atomic bomb. Now, the two movies have become an unlikely double feature. The National Association of Theater Owners expects hundreds of thousands of moviegoers to watch both on the same day. The president and CEO of the association says this level of excitement is unprecedented. Today's opening day screenings of both movies have already sold out at theater chains like AMC and Alamo Drafthouse. Some independent theaters around the country are even offering movie-themed menus and Barbenheimer costume parties. There are hundreds of handmade Barbenheimer t-shirts and posters on sites like Etsy and Redbubble, and of course, lots and lots of memes. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But before we get into that, I want to let you know about our sponsor, ZocDoc. Have you ever been on the hunt for a new doctor and you basically ask everyone you know for their recommendation? You are determined to find a doctor who actually listens to you, makes you feel comfortable, and knows what they're actually talking about. Then you finally think you found the one, only to call the office and learn this perfect doctor does not take your insurance. Cue the frustration. This is not how I like to spend my time and energy. Instead, head over to ZocDoc to find and book the doctor who is right for you and takes your insurance. Yes, ZocDoc is a free app where you can find amazing doctors and book appointments online. We're talking about booking appointments with thousands of top-rated, patient-reviewed doctors and specialists. You can filter specifically for ones who take your insurance, are located near you, and treat almost any condition you're searching for. I check ZocDoc whenever I'm looking for a new doctor or specialist, and it's easy to do. Go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Now back to Feel Good Friday. So what happens when you bring veterinarians together from all over the country? It turns out they end up helping a lot of homeless animals. This year, the American Veterinary Medical Association held its annual convention in Denver, Colorado. And while the vets were there, they decided to volunteer with the Street Dog Coalition. With that partnership and the help of corporate sponsors, they held a weekend event to offer anyone with an animal to come to the Colorado Convention Center for free health checks, vaccinations, and essential supplies like food, treats, toys, leashes, and collars. That included people who live on the streets with their pets and others who have never been able to get their pets' checkups. The generosity did not end with the one event either. Each pet owner also got a referral for spaying, neutering, or follow-up vaccinations, depending on what was necessary. Vets who took part say they don't hold anything against people who can't afford veterinary care. As they explained it, humans are the only ones who judge, animals just feel love. All right, be sure to join us again tomorrow for our special edition Saturday episode. We are talking about the pickleball craze. Did you know it's considered the fastest growing sport in America? We'll talk about why it's so popular and some of its challenges in tomorrow's episode. Then join us again Monday for your next news roundup. For now, thank you so much again for joining us and have a great weekend.